on name.
Kaitlyn Clark, she's going to get so much attention.
There had already been several calls from WNBA players to raise salaries, which start at about $64,000 and only go as high as around $250,000 per year. This will likely change once the next CBA kicks in by the 2026 season, and it could even include stipulations that would increase the salaries of players already under contract, like Clark. Clark faced Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers in the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row, with each getting a win. While they played different positions, the two stars became rivals. They were both part of the 2024 WNBA draft class and became teammates for the first time as the only two rookies to make the All-Star game. The two most watched WNBA regular season games of the year were between Reese's Chicago Sky and Clark's Fever. While Clark and Reese have constantly shown respect for each other, the narrative quickly developed into one about race. Even WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelberg compared the two to Larry Bird and Magic Johnson in the 1980s, two stars who eventually became great friends. Engelberg received widespread criticism because the conversation has led to hate speech and racist comments from fans. During the Fever's playoff series against the Connecticut Sun, players said they experienced racial comments by fans and even death threats online. While Clark tried to remain ho-hum about the discussions for most of the season, she referred to the racist comments as toxic and gross. In an interview with Time earlier this month as the magazine's Athlete of the Year, the story of the summer was Clark's exclusion from Team USA. The team announced its selections for the 2024 Paris Olympics team in June and prioritized veterans over the young rookie. Many argued Clark would attract an unprecedented audience to the women's team, as she has in the NCAA and WNBA. Team USA ultimately won its 8th straight gold medal, and its final game against France drew 7.8 million viewers. Clark has been such a massive draw that other leagues, old and new, have attempted to latch on to her fame. The NBA is attempting to bring in Clark as a participant at the 2025 All-Star Weekend, according to ESPN. She also participated at the LPGA event The Annika, driven by Gainbridge, and brought large crowds to the golf event last month. A Lionel Messi-like offer worth $1 million for just 10 weeks of service was offered to Clark to join Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 women's basketball league founded by WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Nafessa Collier, which tips off in January. She declined the offer last month. Few would argue that Indiana Fever star Kaitlyn Clark is one of the faces of the WNBA. Clark was a near-unanimous selection for WNBA Rookie of the Year. She broke several records, and she was in the conversation for League MVP as a 22-year-old first-year pro. While Clark is in a class of her own in the WNBA, some have wondered how she'd stack up against some of the top shooters in the NBA, especially after remarks Las Vegas Aces center Asia Wilson made last month about her ability to hold her own against an NBA star. During an appearance on the Roommates Show podcast, Wilson boldly stated that she could best New York Knicks guard Josh Hart in a game of one-on-one. The score would be like 8-11 me, Wilson said. I get ball first? Yeah, you're not going to get it back. The difference between the caliber of players Hart and James is night and day. The former has averaged 10 points, 6.6 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 1.0 steals per game over his 10-year NBA career, while the latter has played in just 7 NBA games and scored 4 points along with 2 assists, a rebound, a block, and a steal. Teague also added that James would beat Wilson 20-0 as well. It's unlikely fans will never know who would truly win a one-on-one between Clark and James. But Teague may be selling the 2024 WNBA #1 overall pick a bit short in his hypothetical. I'm not saying you're going to go scoreless, but 8-11 I feel like is pretty solid. Hart initially responded saying the score would be 11-2 in his favour before changing his answer to 11-7, which is much more favourable than the odds Jeff Teague, a 2015 NBA All-Star, gave Clark during a recent appearance on the Club 520 podcast if she were to face Los Angeles Lakers. Rookie Bronny James, one-on-one matchup. Kaitlyn would not score a point on Bronny, bro, Teague said. She might not even get a shot off, bro. He would beat her by 60 points. He would legit beat her 20-0. Bronny's younger brother, Bryce James, would beat her 20-0. He is 10 times more athletic than her. He can do everything better than her. She's a girl, bro. There's no question that the Indiana Fever blossomed into becoming the WNBA's most popular basketball team during the 2024 regular season. This is shown by the attendance records that they set during both home and road games, ticket prices, merchandise sales, and just about any other metric that can be used to assess a team's acclaim. Former Iowa Hawkeyes sensation Kaitlyn Clark, who is already arguably the biggest star in women's basketball history, despite being 22 years old and having played one season of professional basketball, is the driving reason for Indiana's popularity. While the WNBA has played games outside of the United States before, the 2023 and 2024 WNBA Canada Games were held in Toronto and Edmonton. The Atlanta Dream played a preseason game against the Great Britain women's national team in Manchester, England in 2011. And another WNBA preseason game was played in Monterrey, Mexico in 2004. Clark and the Fever playing overseas would surely attract much more attention than any previous international contests. The Dream and Seattle Storm are slated to play a third WNBA Canada game, the first regular season game outside the US, on August 15, 2025. It will be fascinating to see which country the WNBA decides to bring the Fever to, if and when this reported overseas game actually takes place. And in a December 23rd article, Tom Friend of the Sports Business Journal conveyed that the WNBA is already trying to leverage Clark and the Fever's popularity toward a global audience. The WNBA is not oblivious to Clark's stardom, and according to sources, eventually will schedule a Fever game overseas to capitalize on her Q rating. Friend wrote, "A Q rating, or Q score, is, according to Wikipedia, a measurement of the familiarity and appeal of a brand, celebrity, company, or entertainment product, e.g., television show, used in the United States." Friend continued, writing, "Privately, the plan is to market the Fever like they're America's team." Indiana Fever General Manager Amber Cox has come forward to defend the team's controversial decision to leave backup center Temi Fagbenley unprotected in the WNBA expansion draft, a move that has left fans reeling. Fagbenley, a crucial contributor to the Fever's success last season, was swiftly snapped up by the league's newest team, the Golden State Valkyries, sparking outrage among the Fever faithful. In a recent appearance on the In Case You Missed It podcast with Christina Williams, Cox addressed the backlash, explaining the rationale behind the team's contentious move. It's really part of an overall plan, which, hopefully, everyone will see unfold throughout the off-season, Cox stated. These decisions are never easy, but they're made with a long-term vision in mind. Cox's comments did little to soothe frustrated fans, who see the loss of Fag Bentley as a significant blow. Known for her consistency and defensive prowess, Fag Bentley was viewed as an integral piece of the Fever's puzzle as they aim to climb back to WNBA prominence. While Cox promised that more moves are on the horizon, the pressure is mounting. The Fever face a pivotal offseason, with the future of two-time All-Star Kelsey Mitchell hanging in the balance. Mitchell, who averaged 19.2 points per game last season, alongside rising star Kaitlyn Clark, is set to become an unrestricted free agent in January. Losing Mitchell would be a devastating setback for a team already reeling from Fag Bentley's departure. Fans are also curious about how the Fever plan to navigate the WNBA free agency period, which Cox hinted will be critical to their strategy. We understand the passion of our fans and their connection to our players, Cox added. We're committed to building a roster that can compete at the highest level. The Fever's off-season decisions will be closely scrutinized as supporters anxiously await the next chapter in the team's journey. For now, though, Cox's call to trust the process faces a tough sell to a fan base hungry for answers and results.